Boulder shoulders. How do we get them? How do we build them? Shoulders are that enviable part of the physique. They bookend the arms, they give you that nice broad, thick look, and if you train them properly, they give you a nice depth from that side profile. But there's three things that you need to consider: the front delt, the middle delt, and the rear delt. Most people overwork the front delt and then end up with an average medial delt, which obviously doesn't give you that nice broad finishing look that we want. So today what we're going to do is take a look at my favorite ways of working the shoulder broadening lateral head. Obviously one of the best exercises for this is lateral raises, hence its name. Let's start this off by covering a couple of error points that you need to be paying attention to and make sure you are not doing during training. One of the biggest things is recruiting the traps to come in when you're doing shoulders. At the initial start of the movement, when we go to move on any lateral, we want to make sure that the first part of the movement is here and not here. What a lot of people tend to do is they'll go like this and then lift. Now what we've done straight away is we've taken a lot of the load off of that shoulder and put it onto the trap. We want to make sure that we're recruiting the muscles that we're targeting. One little trick I've learned for this is relax your neck. Start doing looking like, you know, an angry granddad. You get off my lawn. Shake out that head, relax your neck, and then move from there. And throughout the whole time that you're moving, keep that neck nice and relaxed. The moment you start grimacing and pulling this, you start tensing up that neck, you're naturally going to pull in those traps. Don't let the ego get involved. Keep the load as light as is necessary, or as heavy as necessary to get a good rep. Start low, build up with your technique. Leave the ego at the door. So we want to make sure that the neck is nice and relaxed and we're not doing this as the start of the movement. What we want to do from there is make sure that we keep that weight below the shoulder. Now, this isn't true all of the time. You can go above the shoulder once you get the technique down and once you're able to recruit the muscles that you want. But for now, to make sure that you are, practice this method. We're going to lift out, thinking about lifting from the elbow, keeping that hand slightly below the elbow and the shoulder. You're immediately going to feel the load stay on the shoulder at the top of that rep. You're also going to be able to hold your posture much easier because that weight is below. It's going to have less chance of making your upper body rock offline. So making sure you're keeping your core nice and tight, glutes engaged, feet nice and planted. We're going to lift up, thinking about lifting from the elbow. We're going to keep the weight ever so slightly in front. So you can see it looks like this. And what this allows me to do is have a slight bend in my arm. This makes making the shoulder the pivot point much easier. By not having the arm fully extended, I'm able to much more easily stop those traps from engaging. If postural issues are one of your things, one thing you can do is stick yourself up against a wall. One huge thing here as well is the eccentric part of the load. So during the concentric, we've stopped that trap coming in, we've kept our neck nice and relaxed, and it's all good. But then from here, what a lot of people tend to do is release the weight down, or they come down with the weight, boom, and we're automatically losing all that connection we've got on the shoulder. Make sure that on the eccentric part of the phase that you control that shoulder and control that momentum as the weight comes all the way back down. Now we're getting full use of the entire rep and we're keeping it nice and strict. If you want to add in overload, don't let the weight touch. You're going to come up, back down, stop, and straight back up. This is going to let there be no respite for the shoulder and that medial muscle that you're recruiting. And this is going to cause metabolic overload. So this is much better to use this with a lighter weight, those higher reps and higher volume. With heavier weights, we want to try something a little different. With a heavier load, we want to pay a little bit more attention. Now is going to be the challenge to again not recruit those traps or minimize their recruitment, but also keep the shoulders safe. It's during the heavier lifts that we tend to tweak things because we tend to try and shift the weight rather than lift the weight. Common things you'll see here is trap engagement, pigeon necking, body being thrown back. All of these you need to take out. So you need to get yourself nice and solid before you lift. Set your base, set your core, relax your neck, and get ready to recruit. By adding a little bit of momentum in with the heavier weights, for me this tends to be a bit of a safer way to start handling the bigger weights, and it also takes away that possibility of just tweaking something. By adding that momentum in, you're able to bring in and dial in that control as the weight lifts. So in comparison to the lighter load where I can very easily start from a stationary position and lift, and I end up with that nice recruitment, but what I'm getting here on the lighter load is a volume overload. With the heavier load, I want to start a little bit further around and get a little bit of momentum into the swing. What that does is allows me to bring that shoulder in nice and safely rather than overload certain points, smaller muscles, some of the stabilizer muscles by starting from a static position from the side. But when you get to those heavier loads in that kind of 6 to 8 range, try this. You're going to bring the momentum up, but at the top you're going to stop and then fight that eccentric load. By doing this, what we're doing is recruiting as much muscle as we can whilst minimizing the chance of tweaking something. By also prepping that momentum, what we're taking out is this jerk that a lot of people tend to put in. If that little swing and kick in doesn't allow you to get the weight up, it's too freaking heavy. Go lighter, it's that simple. But that little bit of momentum will allow you to add that little bit more weight. And then what you can do, if you want to help that progression, is once you've hit the heavy load, you can do a drop set with the lighter ones. Again, then just allowing that volume overload. You should always be doing both heavy and light styles of lifting, mixing and matching as you go for type 1 and type 2. Slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers. We want to be working both of those, not just focusing on one or the other. By making sure that we're working both types of the muscle fibers that we have within our body, you're going to get the best and fastest results possible. Plus, it makes training more interesting when you're not doing the same thing over and over and over. So mix it up, have fun, but overall, make sure you're hitting the form. From that full rounded look from the front, we're going to need to work on the front delt.